And everybody, welcome to episode 97 of the 214 Sports Show, the Leroy Glover episode. Former Dallas Cowboy defensive tackle, played there in the early 2000s, had a few Pro Bowls with the Cowboys, and was also a second team All-Pro, I believe, in '02. Played for a few different teams around the NFL, and ultimately retired about a decade and a half ago, and is now a St. Louis Battlehawks assistant in
Wow.
the UFL. Glad to have you along on episode 97, creeping up there to almost a century mark, TJ. But Joseph Duffey joined alongside TJ Krilowicz. How you doing, TJ?
I'm doing great, you know. I just got back from Dallas, a weekend trip from Austin right now, and I got to see the Stars beat down on the San Jose Sharks Friday night and then lose a bunch of money at the casino the next night afterwards, but still a successful weekend. Had a great time at the Stars game, so ready to talk a little bit.
Which casino? Windstar?
Yeah, Winstar.
Yeah, always a nice day trip. Always a nice one. Not too far away.
No,
But
no, not at all.
yeah.
I mean, it's a nice casino, don't get me wrong, but I don't think I've ever won money there, so I don't know if I personally recommend it.
You may not
But
want to recommend any casinos for anybody out there, but
not better at
yeah,
Choctaw either though.
yeah. It's fun though to do every now and then, just to have a little getaway after a grueling semester that we both have to deal with, and
Absolutely.
just to help decompress. I don't know if that actually is what happens though, decompressing inside of a casino, but
No more depressing. That's more
yeah,
like it.
more depressing. Yeah. But this is the Leroy Glover episode. We're going to talk a little bit of Cowboys, Mavs, and Stars. Not too much Rangers on this one. There is rumors that Corey Seager could be getting shopped as well. And how insane that would be that the three best players in DFW sports could possibly all be gone by the end of 2025. How insane as the winter meetings are approaching, or actually have begun already in Major League Baseball. And just to hint this out, there is some good work coming in by way of TJ Krulowitz of what a year it's been for 2025 in DFW sports. It's been all over the place, a roller coaster ride, more bad and sad than good, it seems. But that's in the works later on and should be published very soon as he's working very hard on that. And there's a lot of stuff that he's going to be breaking down. So stay tuned for that. But without further ado, let's get started in episode 97 with the Dallas Cowboys, who just got pounced in Detroit, riding what was a great win streak where they beat the last two, well, the NFC and AFC champions of last Super Bowl and the Chiefs and Eagles. And you were thinking that, man, this team is going into a hostile environment against a team that they hadn't beaten last time in the Detroit Lions, absolutely pummeled them in their own stadium. And now you go to Detroit, a team that is not as good as they were last year. And who knows, the Cowboys team could possibly run the table en route to a playoff berth, and they got pummeled. If you want to call it getting pummeled.
I would
Maybe
say so.
44-30. TJ, what went wrong for the Dallas Cowboys in this game when you thought that, man, there was a little bit of hope?
I mean defense.
Hmm.
Um,
Yikes.
Yikes.
What what is
Yikes,
what is
yikes,
def
yikes.
what is defense?
Whoa, okay. I mean, I'm getting impressed here. No, I mean
No,
it's
I'm saying
just
I'm saying what is defense of the Cowboys? They don't know how to play it. What is defense?
yeah, no, okay. I thought you were like asking me like I was part of like a 60-minute like kind of type of interview or something like that. Like you got me to really explain.
No.
I mean, it's pretty disappointing. You had two receivers go for over 100 yards, Ryan Flournoy, CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott, 326 yards, 31 completions. The offense was humming. They had a great they had a great game. Detroit just pummeled us on their own, on their own side of the ball. I thought that we were going to see a little bit less of um, what's his name? Kenneth Murphy after the Logan Wilson trade.
I think you mean Kenneth Murray, right? Kenneth Murray,
Kenneth Murray, yeah, Kenneth Murray.
former OU
Sorry,
Sooner. Yeah.
yeah, just abysmal the tackling from that guy. I just don't want to see him on the team anymore, to be honest. After that performance, but I mean, to be honest, you talk about coming from 3 weeks ago, before the Eagles and before the Chiefs. If you're to tell me on this three-game stretch where they played these three tough opponents in 11 days that they went 2 for 3, I wouldn't be too mad at all, you know? Like I would be like pretty happy with that. And The Eagles gave us life on Monday. All right. They gave us a bunch of life with losing the San or oh, sorry, about to call them San Diego, but losing to the Chargers. So, I mean, it's still right in front of them. They have a pretty decently easy schedule coming up, I would say, at least. I'm not intimidated to the Vikings. Of course, I don't want to sound like an idiot if they go out there and nine, destroys us. We are, you know, hey, quarterbacks that tend to not be too good tend to have some good games against us other than Geno Smith. So hopefully it's a remix of what happened against Vegas. You expect to go out there and beat them down, have that happen and carry that momentum forward.
Yeah, it's certainly a one game at a time mentality for this Cowboys team. Well, they have to win out in what seems to be their only path to the playoffs. The way this wild card looks, um, their only way to the playoffs seems to be is winning the division and relying on Philadelphia losing at least two of their last four games. About this Detroit game, man, I don't know what it is about guys who get hurt the week before playing us. Something about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I could have sworn on Thanksgiving Day that dude was done for at least 2 or 3 weeks. The man could hardly walk against the Packers. He couldn't walk. Now, how is it that he is getting 9 targets, gets 6 catches for 92 yards? I can't wrap my head around it. I don't know what these players are on in these games sometimes, but it just shocks me how got healthy right in time for the Dallas Cowboys and had one of their best games. But Jahmyr Gibbs proved again, in an actual legit point here, that he's one of the best skill players in the game. He wasn't pounding the rock, at least on the ground. He didn't. He only had 12 carries for 43 yards. The wide receiver lining up the Gibbs that we saw was really what was dominating the Cowboys. 7 catches for 77 yards off of 7 targets. That was. He was unstoppable in the flats. The linebackers could not get to him. The corners couldn't wrap up and tackle him. He was just putting on a masterclass. Had 3 total touchdowns and 120 total yards. He's one of the very best in the league for that reason, and flat out exposed this defense, if you even want to call it getting exposed. They've been pretty poor in the majority of the year. But
Hmm.
I'm really disappointed in the pass rush, being that Jared Goff is not a runner. And there was just no pass rush. He's a statue in the pocket. And props to Dan Campbell. He drew up quick play concepts that didn't allow him to essentially have to wait forever to see a route develop. These routes were very quick. He got the ball out. Jared Goff got the ball out. And that's the weakness of this Cowboys defense coached by Matt Eberflus. If you can just get the ball out, don't even worry about the three-headed monster, of Quinn Williams and of course Odigizua, and then also Kenny Clark, who they acquired from the Packers in the Micah trade. You don't have to worry about that if you just get the ball out. And the lack of tackling that we saw with this defense, just get the ball out. You can hang in there with any team if you're afraid of this so-called vaunted three-headed monster that we thought could have been more impactful in this Detroit game. So disappointing loss, but to wrap this point up, I think I had them winning two of these three games. And like you were saying, if you want to keep your chin up on this, I don't know if I actually expected them to do it. But if there's a game to lose, I guess it's this one because I did not expect them
Yeah.
to beat the Eagles and the Chiefs, especially the way they did. 21 unanswered points or 24 unanswered points against Philadelphia um, a few weeks ago, and then beating the Chiefs at home, who seem to be reeling, and all the wheels keep falling apart in that operation. I'm sure we wouldn't want to be there in their position as well, but winning two of those three games was huge for sure. They control their own destiny.
Yeah. I mean, I want to know why teams don't do what Dan Campbell and the Lions do more with making it lineman eligible receivers. I mean, I know that
Skipper.
everyone thinks of like the few, the big controversy 2 years ago, which they missed a tripping call earlier in that drive. Drive would have been over. Also, they had multiple chances to get in the end zone. They could have just kicked the extra point. They lost themselves that game. Let's just make that clear real quick. But I mean, you saw Alabama do it against Georgia. If you're a college football fan, they were also putting a lineman out in the, kind of put him in the flat, just throw it to him and
Hayden
just have him
Proctor.
just drive right through the defense, man. And I know that the Lions tried to do that. I think he just dropped the pass. I can't remember clearly, but I think that's just what happened. But I mean, like, come on, dude. That fucking rocks. Sorry for
I
the
love
meme,
it.
but like, it's
Oh,
awesome. It's awesome to watch something like that happen. I wish teams would do that more, to be honest.
honestly, I respect that for sure. I was saying before in this game that it doesn't feel like the trick plays have that same impact with Dan Campbell calling the plays than when Ben Johnson was calling it last year. It didn't feel like, they were really catching you off guard, but some of the play calls really were helping the Lions out clearly, and keeping this Cowboys defense on their heels this past Thursday. It's insane. It's almost been a week since this game, but um, when you look at how they dominated, there was just no answer. No answer. Not hardly any stops. It was almost all Detroit from that Thursday matchup. And it's a shame that this offense, they can't do anything about that. I mean, they put up 30 points still. I mean, a lot of teams will take 30 points. But if your defense is giving up almost 50, like, the game's over there. I mean, I really thought they could have possibly had a chance, but
They could
yeah.
have. Receivers kind of drop passes when it mattered the most, you know. It's just tough to watch. Dak, of course, is going to get blamed for those two picks, not doing enough. I think he did plenty for this game for the Cowboys, to help the Cowboys win again. I'll defend him again. I mean, it's too tough. Drop passes turn into picks, turn into turnovers. Could have been potential points on those drives. You lose by two scores, you got two picks. So it's tough. Tough way to lose, but again, very fortunate for them to be 6-6-1 right now. They could be a lot worse, you know.
It,
They could have, instead of losing the Detroit this past week, they could have, instead beat Arizona at home on Monday Night Football. They could have beat Chicago. I mean, I guess Chicago's a pretty good team at this point. So, I mean, but they could have put up a better fight against Denver. So I mean, can't really blame the season on this game, really. But Matt Eberflus, please count your days, pal.
I mean, seriously, especially if, this ends up being a missed opportunity coming up at the end of the season. Like I was saying, the only chance, or really the more legitimate chance for the Cowboys to make the playoffs at this point is to win the NFC East. The NFC East streak is still currently in play. There has not been a back-to-back NFC East champion since the 04 and 05 Eagles
You
went
believe in
back-to-back in the early
superstitions?
2000s. I still kind of believe it. When
I
you
do
look at how this
too. I
Eagles
do
team has
too.
played and how Kevin Patullo is called and how Jalen Hurts is executed like he did this past Chargers game, I don't know, man. The Eagles they just don't look good at all. But as far as what their next game is, they're playing the Las Vegas Raiders in Philadelphia. I don't know how this is supposed to be a lose game for them.
No.
But again, I explained a few minutes ago, the only chance for the Cowboys to win is to win the division, or at least make the playoffs is to win the division. They have to go against Minnesota, the Chargers, the Commanders, and then the Giants. They have to win all of those games. Philadelphia has to go against the Raiders coming up this Sunday, and then Washington, Buffalo, and then Washington again. Do you like Dallas' chances when he put it up like that in these last four games? Do you think it's reasonable?
I mean, it's hard not to say no, but I do want to say that it really does suck how the season has played out because they are in a terrible spot for this season. They are in a prime position to be perfectly mediocre enough to miss out on the playoffs, but or enough to miss out on a good draft pick position, but not enough to make the playoffs. Because Philadelphia, I think Washington needs to get investigated. Obviously, the same with New York, by the way that they are losing these games. Washington should have not been blown out by Minnesota the way that they were last week. And the fact that they were right, it raises some eyebrows, at least for me, that this team is purposely losing games. Obviously, I think that's a bunch of BS, but just for my my agenda, I'm gonna keep that going. Uh, so, is Washington able to pull out a game against Philadelphia? I mean, we've seen the Giants do it this year before they got super hurt, obviously. So, I mean, it's still possible. But then it also requires the Cowboys to go 4-0, which I think is also possible. They own the Giants and the Commanders in, divisional races. They've done that a lot. I can't remember the last time that Washington or well, I guess Washington beat us in the season series last year, so never mind. I was gonna say I can't remember the last time that Washington or New York has, properly disposed of us in a season or two. I don't know how to say it, but I'm gonna go with it's unreasonable. But don't slam the door yet. Don't slam the door shut. It's
It's a
still
week
there.
to week game. So week to week game, you never know what's going to happen in the NFL. Just like how there was news that broke that a 44-year-old Philip Rivers is now going to possibly compete for the starting job for the Indianapolis Colts. He knows the system with Shane Steichen. He was one of his former quarterback coaches and coordinators back with San Diego. And that's the reason why apparently he got the call up when Anthony Richard, of course, had that tragic band injury that hit his eye in the pregame. And now Daniel Jones is officially out for the year. You hate to see it for him, who is having possibly an MVP season after a dynamic 8-1 start. And Riley Leonard, who backed up Jones, got hurt in the Jags game, the former Notre Dame Irish and former Duke Blue Devil.
Do you
You
think
never
the
know.
Colts, do you think they called Tom Brady before Philip Rivers?
They may have. They may
I,
have.
I think they did.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah,
But I'm sure Brady was probably thinking also, like, man, I'm signed to Fox. I also have, a stake in the Raiders. There's no way I can play. I bet they would call him though.
he
I
would
mean,
find a way.
who knows? They could have called Breeze too, but just knowing that Philip
Yeah,
Rivers was also a Colt in 2020. That's the last time he played. His last game was the COVID season and losing against the Buffalo Bills. They were 11-5 that year, a really good year for the Colts, by the way. And they lost the Bills in Buffalo. And what was actually a really good game went down to the wire, and he hasn't played since. He signed a 1-day contract with the Chargers just a few months ago, and now he is out of retirement and is back playing football. Got signed as far as Tuesday
he got
of
tired of them
this week.
kids, man.
He's a grandfather, by the way. A grandfather
Unbelievable.
is about to suit
Tired of
up.
them grandkids too.
My goodness. But yeah, speaking of the Vikings, who you were saying uh caused the Commanders to make you think they should get investigated. There was also that Raiders thing that happened the end of that Broncos game a few days ago. I don't know if you saw that. It went viral and Dave Portnoy complaining that they should get investigated because they kicked a field goal at the very end to cover to cover when the game was pretty much out of reach. That was a pretty funny video. But speaking of the Minnesota
Somebody lost a
Vikings, really
bet.
quick. Yeah, speaking of Minnesota Vikings, really quick. Coming up, welcoming 9 to Dallas. Obviously, a must-win game for the Cowboys. This team plays much better at home. So, how confident are you in the Cowboys winning this game and knowing that they really control their own destiny after the Vikings' dominant win, which also Zach Ertz got hurt in for the Commanders? And knowing that they're probably going to go ride with Mariota for the rest of the year in Washington. Don't know if Jaden Daniels will come back. His elbow got hurt again. But how confident are you after that dominant win that Minnesota had against Washington?
I mean, I'm confident. I think that this is a prime position for George Pickens to get back on his feet. And I think that a lot of people gave him some, obviously, as we can tell, some people, including Richard Sherman, said some choice words about his performance on Thursday, and he responded with some more, choice words. And I mean, I don't know how, the update on CeeDee Lamb right now. I don't know if he'll be playing or not, but if he isn't, this is prime position for George Pickens to get back on his feet, help this offense out. The Cowboys, they have nothing to lose. They have 2 first-round picks. They might as well go for the playoffs right now. They have no other choice, really. So, hey, I mean, you lose, it's over right now. But they don't have anything to lose, I think, honestly. I don't think they have anything to lose because it's not end of all worlds if we don't make the playoffs. We prepared with this trade acquisition, the trade deadline with Quentin Williams. We were preparing for the long term. So, I don't know. I'm just gonna say that the Cowboys need to get back on their feet. They'll play great. They'll have a great offensive performance. I think they beat the Minnesota.
Well, I think that you raise a great point too. This is going to be the primetime game, which, I kind of disagree with that. How this is Sunday night football, but of course they probably didn't realize that the Cowboys are going to be like this year, and the Vikings are going to be like this as well. Um, but I look at this Minnesota team, and yeah, I trust the Cowboys, who are 4-1-1 at home, to come away with this victory. I don't think anything really scares me or moves me about JJ McCarthy. We've been calling him Nine in kind of a mocking fashion
Terrible
based off
nickname.
that meme a few weeks ago where he was getting hyped up by Kevin O'Connell um, in the post game locker room talk. 47 and a half is the over-under. Cowboys are currently favored by 5.5. I think that's pretty fair to be honest. But this Vikings defense is streaky. Brian Flores is still a really good defensive mind. Uh, doesn't mean that he's exactly infallible against the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys still have a better record against him. Um, but I do think this is a get back game for sure. And this is our first taste. Last week was our first taste of a little bit of George Pickens controversy with Richard Sherman calling him out like he did. And some Steelers fans may have been vindicated after that, saying, you know what, told you so. That's why Mike Tomlin got him out of here. He's just a head case. He gives effort selectively. Um, but I do think that it's a
I'll
get right
take that if
game
he does what he does against the Chiefs and Eagles. Yeah,
for
I'll take
sure.
it every time.
I'll take it. Well worth it still. Well worth it very much still.
Yep.
He'll get his money for sure. I trust Jerry Jones. They'll actually pay that guy. And CD and George are a good duo. I think they'll have a really good game again. CD Lamb heating up as well after, a rough few drops that he's had in this season. So I trust the Cowboys win this game. Do you have a score prediction real quick?
I'm gonna say Cowboys 30. No, let's go 33. I'm gonna go 33-17. Win
I'll s-
convincingly.
I'll say Cowboys 30, Minnesota 21. I think that's something. But I think we both have them having great offensive performances. Um, I don't know if it'll be exactly a close game in the second half, but the first half should definitely be a game that I think will be really tight. And maybe they're underestimating JJ McCarthy. Maybe they think that, the memes have consumed him, but that was a dominant win. He has some nice throws. I'm not gonna lie to you.
You
Some
did.
nice throws against Washington.
You did.
Uh, but I
I
think,
no, I was just gonna say, I mean, I was a tad impressed, but Washington doing something wrong, man. That's like Dan Quinn's defense against Green Bay three
yeah,
2 years ago, man. They did something wrong.
there's no excuse getting
There's
shut
something
out.
wrong with Washington.
Zero. Yeah, zero excuse. Him and Joe Witt, by the way, both former Cowboys coaches, as they went out a little bit sad against the Green Bay Packers, and TJ and I sat in attendance and just wept. Yeah, he wasn't even weeping. He was more of like a silent little, just silent watch.
And there wasn't a lot of talking, yeah.
There wasn't a lot of talking, not even a weeping. What a watch that was. But moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, actually winners of five of their last 10. Sitting at 9-15 as we record this Wednesday evening.
They got
They're
life.
Yeah, they've got life. They're looking much better. Beat the Miami Heat a few nights ago, but also just beat, I believe. Let me see if I'm correct. I just missed who they beat. The Rockets, I believe, a few days ago. So a really good win in that regard as well. Did not expect them to beat that Rockets team, by the way, but this team is looking much better, and Cooper Flag is one of the reasons why. So TJ, this Mavs team that has had a horrific year. How do you like how they're playing this last week of play with Derek Lively, by the way, out for the year?
Well, first of all, why it's just like why do they not play for a week? I want to know
Yeah,
why.
6 days of rest, by the way. 6 days.
6 days between Houston and Brooklyn. I guess it's just that important to get the Nets game. From a team standpoint, gotta win that game, I guess. Gotta have a lot of preparation, but I mean, hey, 4 out of the last 5, not 5 out of the last 10, 4 out of the last 5 that they have won, and I'm sorry, 2 of those 4 on the road, against teams that should be playoff teams. Obviously, LA has had a terrible year, maybe even worse than us. But beating Denver was super impressive. We've already really talked about those. I believe we already talked about Denver, so try to talk a little bit more about Miami, Oklahoma City, and the Houston game. Um, I mean, great performances. I think Oklahoma is just gonna run through everybody. Even if we had our Thunder Killer PJ Washington playing in that game, we still lose, I think, obviously. So it's they're on one. They're gonna win the NBA Finals. It's not like I don't know why anyone really cares about this league right now. But hey, great win against Houston. Great win against Houston. I enjoyed watching that. Cooper Flag's really coming in the one player that he's not one dimensional. He has a great offensive, defensive capability on both sides. So, I mean, I'm excited for him, obviously, to develop throughout the rest of the season. I like again, right now we're 9-16, and you can say we should tank, try to get a bet, a top five pick or whatever. But hey, I mean, it's there's nothing hurts without seeing, nothing hurts seeing him win a few games and seeing Cooper Flag develop and get that winning feeling. Um, that hopefully will get back in the coming years. Of course, Ryan Nembhard. I'll let you talk a little bit about Ryan Nembhard. I've been talking a little
Oh,
bit.
I mean, my goodness, how great he has been, especially in that Nuggets game that we mentioned last week. But yeah, I mean, it's not easy to be a guard at his size in this NBA. And the way he's so instinctive. He plays with such great ball skills. And that's the thing that we were questioning before in the start of the season. Who's going to handle the rock? Who can dish out the good passes? Who can possibly, set up a good alley-oop? Because Luka Doncic did pretty much all of that and was a great scorer on top of it as well. So, of course, I'm not comparing him to Luka Doncic. But
You
it's just
should.
nice. It's just
He has a
nice.
better start to his career than Luka did, technically.
Technically, yeah, the former
It could
Gonzaga
happen.
Bulldog. But yeah, for sure it could happen. Hopefully he doesn't get shipped off after he breaks out. But no. Uh,
Well,
it's
comparing
just
him to Luca, sorry, I just want to pick off of that. Like, I mean, again, we talk about this all the time. This team was built around a playmaker. They need a playmaker. Without Kyrie, of course, being hurt and Luca being traded, they have no playmakers. They have absolutely none. Brendan Williams is the best playmaker. D'Angelo Russell, I guess, would be the best playmaker. And that's, depressing. So, I mean, they needed somebody to come in here and be able to distribute the rock, be able to find open players. Because I mean, this was a historically bad offense that they had at the start of the season before Ryan Nembhard came through. He is definitely a direct report of why we are winning these games now. We have people that can, facilitate and get people moving around and get people open. And that is what we were missing. So, yeah, sorry.
no, I
Sorry to cut
mean,
you off like that.
I forgot who said it. I saw it on my Twitter page, I think yesterday, but it was this analyst who was saying, I've potentially never seen any more organization or any other organization hate its star more than the Mavs hated Luka Doncic. And they've paid the price like horrendously since trading him off to the LA Lakers. Nico Harrison, of course, is now gone. But it's just been a bunch of injuries and searching about who can be the next ball handler with Kyrie's absence. And to have Ryan Nembhard and what he's doing this year has just been very pleasing when it's been a very sad year for Mavs fans. And really, a roller coaster ride of a year, as we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, for Dallas Fort Worth sports fans, with the Rangers now making the playoffs after having some more hype and eventually letting go of Bruce Bochy. Then the Cowboys having the start they've had this year after shipping off Micah Parsons. The Metroplex needs hope. And we'll get to the stars in a second who have been providing that hope for sure. But the Dallas Mavericks, I mean, it's just been a rough year. So to see some of that with Cooper Flag for sure has been very positive for this organization. By the way, with
Absolutely.
with Jason Kidd getting that extension, I think 2 weeks ago. Yeah, you're set with this guy. You're set with this roster. They're gonna have to do better in the draft as it looks. As you were on the hype train to get that tank started after that horrendous start, they've been playing much better. Who knows what pick they'll have eventually?
It's
Don't
always
think that
fun to win. All right.
it's
I'll turn
always fun
around.
to, yeah, for sure. But the Mavs do play the Nets after a 6-day rest. Um, they'll play them on Friday at 8:30 Eastern time, but actually 7:30 Central. Just want to clarify that for sure.
There you go.
But there it is, winners of four of their last five, the Dallas Mavericks. As we move on to the Dallas Stars, who are just on one heck of a run this year. The Avs and Stars clear look to be the 1 and 2 as the best teams in the NHL. TJ, an 11-game point streak for these Dallas Stars after winning 4-3 against the Winnipeg Jets. Who knows? Jake Ottinger's possibly trying to compete as the number one U.S. goalie for the upcoming Winter Olympics. The way he has played has been very sensational as well for the Dallas Stars. But this Stars team is rolling, man. And I don't know if either one of us expect them to have this good of a start with a new head coach in Glenn Gulutzan.
Not me. Not for sure as hell as me, being number two in the league in points. I think that the Stars always generate a lot of hype preseason from media, which is always surprising because they always seem to forget about the Stars when it comes to award time. But I think that I always I've always been kind of a glass half empty type guy when it comes to the Stars preseason. I always think again that they are not as good as what a lot of people think they are. Their postseason, they're able to get through a couple series in the postseason, and then they eventually lose to the Western Conference Finals. They haven't proved anything to show that they're a top team other than making the Western Conference Finals, which is pretty impressive, obviously. Very impressive. But you can't get over that hump. So, I want something to be different. This season feels different. All right. It feels different. They're more physical. All right. They're winning these close games. They're winning the games that they need to win. The games, I think that they've how many times have they lost in the division so far this year? Not a lot. I can't even think of one game to be honest. They've beat the Avalanche. They beat the Jets twice now. They beat the Minnesota Wild. Those are the top performers in this division. And, talking about the division, it's such a shame. It is such a shame. The Stars, I believe, are number one in the league in points in the last three seasons, and only one of those years they are, winning the Central Division, which was 2 years ago. Last year they didn't win it because they were top five in points, but guess what? The Avalanche and Jets were also top five in points that year. And then this year now, the Avalanche are just on a roll. I think they've completely forgotten about Mikko Rantanen. They're done with thinking that he is, their final piece. Now it's Marnachis, and he's been balling for them. Or I guess he's been pucking for him. I don't know. But they're a really scary team, and it's unfortunate that the Stars are playing as good as they are because it's still not enough to win the division. But if you believe in the President's Cup curse, you might just want to say, Avalanche, go ahead and have that division. Go ahead and have it. But right now, it is tough that the Avalanche are still technically outplaying the Stars. The Stars have more points than them in the last 10 games. They've been gaining on them. They still are, I believe, 2 points behind them with one more, or the Avalanche have one more game in hand. So still obviously a lot left in the season. So it's not like this is, make or break, have to win every single game, obviously. So
And as
still
we're
tough though.
almost, yeah, and as we're almost winding down here, this is kind of the reason why you were saying, man, maybe the NHL should go to 1 through 8 seeding, being that these teams are both in the Central Division, because you'd love to see these teams meet up possibly in a Western Conference final, but it's just less likely when you see that they're in the top two of the
It's
division
impossible.
leading. It's impossible. So. How these two teams have started with the Avs being 21-2, with seven overtime losses, or overtime wins, that is. It's just been a crazy year for both teams. And, hopefully we get to see more of that playoff magic from both of them because it's always fireworks with the Stars usually ending up on the winning side of that is. But,
Two
what a
years in a
great
row.
start that is,
Can't say
especially
shit to
that
us, Colorado.
you cannot, as you were in attendance for the dynamic comeback at the American Airlines Center.
Unbelievable.
So we're wrapping up episode 97, the Leroy Glover episode. We do remind you to like and subscribe here on the YouTube and also Spotify. We post all these episodes at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you look down the description, the script describing the episode as well. As always, you can find it in full length every time Thursday, 11 a.m. Central. And then we also post content throughout the weeks of our takes, of past moments in Dallas Fort Worth sports, as TJ's been chopping up usually. That helps you like rekindle memories of the great days of the past, but also some funny memories as well. We post those on X and Reels, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. So follow that if you will at the 214 Sports Show account. So TJ, do you want to give your socials as well?
Yeah, you can follow me on X at TJ_Krilowicz and then on Instagram at TJ.Krilowicz. And again, just like what Joe said at the start, look out for that video. It'll be coming out soon, I believe in January. It's taken me a really long time. 13 pages of scripting. Been a lot of bad things happen to Dallas sports this year. So just be on the lookout. I promise you, I put a lot of effort in and it should look pretty good, hopefully.
Absolutely, and can't wait. You can follow me at Joe_Duffy on TikTok and at Joseph_Duffy99 on Twitter/X and Instagram. So again, this is the 214 Sports Show, episode 97, the Roy Glover episode. We thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.